Hey guys, it's Beth. Today is Throwback Thursday, and today we're taking it all the way back to 2008 with a Creating Keepsakes magazine. How many of you used to covet these magazines every time? I don't remember if they came monthly. I think some of them came monthly, and there were some other brands that like maybe came 6 times a year. But before Pinterest, this was my jam. I used to live for getting my new magazines every month, and I would pour through them, and that's where I got inspiration and ideas. And the crazy thing is I saved almost every one of these magazines, whether it was the scrapbooking, the card making, or just the journal crafting ones. Like, I saved them all, and I would tab mark the pages of the projects that I really liked and maybe wanted to try, and then I just had them all in a big giant, well, for a while I had them in magazine racks. And then when I moved craft rooms, I ended up putting them into a set of file drawers. And so last year I was going through and cleaning out those file drawers and found all my magazines. So of course I went through and I looked through all the ones that I liked, or looked through them all. And then if there was a project that I liked or was inspired by, I would either tear out the page or take a picture of it so that I could save the image digitally instead of having to save the magazine. But there were a few magazines I saved, and I saved this one. This is from June 2008, and it's Creating Keepsakes, and it has, I saved it because it had a segment that was on easy patterns. And so it says, you can create 3 layouts and 2 cards in a single sitting by cutting and assembling the following materials. So basically they give you a cut list, a supply list, a cut list, and then layouts for 5 different projects. So I thought that might be fun. I mean, it's similar to what Call Me Crafty Al does for you for the sheetload of cards, but this, it's just you're doing more with it. And I used to love these just because sometimes it's nice to not have to think. There's so many projects that you're creating, and you know, sometimes it's nice to just somebody to hand it to you and say, here, make this. This is how you make it. Here's what you need to make it. So that's what I'm going to do this month. So I've read through the supply list and have pulled out all of the things I need. So I needed 5 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. 2 of the sheets were going to be the same color. So I have like a kind of a light green, a mint, 2 sheets of white, and then a brown. So those are my 5 sheets of cardstock. And then I needed, on this list, they have 1 sheet of 11.5 by 11.5 cardstock with scalloped edges. Well, lo and behold, I still had a few of these gems in my stash. I could have totally taken a piece of 12 by 12 and did the scallop all the way around, or just scalloped when I needed it, but I still had some scalloped ones in my stash. So, but I am going to try and use them because I don't really use them otherwise. So there were like 3 colors that I had. I had a peach, I had a dark purple, I had 4. I had a green and a black. So I went with this peach because I was thinking I could do some layouts of my daughters in their, from when they were little. And then you needed 1 sheet of 12 by 12 double-sided patterned paper. And so I happened to find this one. It's brown, and it tied in with my kind of peachy pink color of the scallop. And so it's got some, luckily enough, it has some baby related words on the back side, and then this brown and pink flowers on the front side. So those were the papers I needed. Then it says that I need chipboard rub-on stickers or other lettering options. So I pulled out just some white and brown letter stickers of various sizes. I'm not sure what kind of layouts I'm going to do yet. I just figured I'd get everything cut and kind of pieced together, and I could figure out what might fit. Then I needed 2 different ribbons, and they actually give you the exact length of ribbon that you need, and then they tell you later on how to cut it down. But I just pulled out some ribbons that I thought might work, and I swear I had a plain brown I must have lost it on the way over here to this desk. So it's like a peach and gold, come on, focus, polka dot washi tape. And then I have like a really light pink, almost a peachish thin ribbon, and then this darker brown with the pink polka dots, and then I had a plain brown, like I said, somewhere. That didn't quite make it over here. Then it calls for a white lined index card, and that's for journaling. And I do have some of the 3x5 index cards, but I'm going to hold off to see if I really need all of that or if I can just use a scrap of cardstock. And then it says coordinating stickers, decorative rub-ons. And I happened to find, when I was looking for my double-sided paper to match my scalloped piece, I happened to find these Cartabella and Echo Park embellishments, and they're perfect. I mean, they match the color of this scalloped cardstock perfectly, and they're baby girl themed, so that's totally what I needed. So I actually used these to kind of help me pull out the rest of the colors on my cardstock. Like there's that mint, there's that darker green, and then the darker brown. So that kind of helped me choose my other colors. And then it also says you need 6 mini brads and 9 small embellishments, and I have not pulled the brads out yet. And then small embellishments, I figured some of these might work for that. So, but I know I do have some brads that I could use. I just totally forgot to pull those out. So that is the supply list, and I have all of those supplies ready to go. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is they tell you the sizes to cut each piece of your cardstock and your pattern paper, and then they have you label it just so you know what it is, because each project then tells you the letter of the piece that you need. So I will go ahead and cut all of my pieces down off camera so that you don't have to see that, but then I will come back and assemble the projects with you on camera. So just thought I used to love to do these, and I just thought it would be fun to revisit these. And again, it's from 2008, so it is a very big blast from the past. So I will be back once I get all of my pieces cut.
Okay, so here are all my cut pieces, and now I'm ready to begin assembly. So I've sped this video up about 5 times just because it was really long. As it is, it's still half an hour, but I sped it up. And we'll talk through some of it, and then maybe also add some music, because that way I don't have to talk for a full 23 minutes. We'll see. But there are some things that I did want to point out. So all of the pieces that I cut, all of the cardstock pieces, I did label as they suggested. I did not label the patterned paper, and I probably should have, but I figured that the cardstock would be the hardest to figure out which they were referring to. So here on this first layout, I am just trying to get everything laid out the way it's supposed to be. I did pre-cut my photos, and these are all of my daughter Avery shortly after she was born, within the first few months. So on this particular layout, instead of ribbon, I end up opting for that peach washi tape. I just liked how the peach played off the mint. So now that I figured out how I want everything to kind of lay out, I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of my pieces. So that photo grouping on the left-hand side of the left page, they originally had, I think, 3 4x6 horizontal photos, or like one big giant photo strip. I am only using 2, and so I had to fill in some of that gap down there at the bottom, and I just used a scrap of the pattern paper that I had pulled out for this particular kit, just to help fill in and balance out that left-hand side. So now it's just a matter of getting everything adhered down and changing out my ATG. So for this little photo here, I went to apply it down, but then realized it doesn't really stand out. So I decided to pull the peach washi tape and just add a little bit of a frame to the photo, just to kind of help it weight it down a little bit more so that it pops against the white background. And so I just left a little bit of overhang on the edges too, just to kind of act as a frame. So now all of my photos are down, and now I can start with the embellishments. So I decided to go ahead and do my title first, and I'm using its Paper Studio letter set from Hobby Lobby. Probably picked it up on clearance. And then I'm pulling out another blast from the past here. This is the Titletopia from Creative Memories. I don't always use this anymore, but in this case, I figured it would just be quicker. And it helps me, basically the point of it is it allows you to line up your titles on like the non-stick backing before you adhere it down to your layout. And so I pretty much only use that straight edge anymore, but the Titletopia, they have like circular waves, just all kinds of different shapes. But I usually just use it to help me line up a straight title. You can do the same thing with a ruler. And then I've also seen people just use wax paper. But here I just figured since I'm overlapping 2 pages, it would be easier to use the Titletopia, and it would speed up the process so you guys don't have to watch me trying to line it up freehand. So now I have my title down, and I'm going to work on adding the embellishments. I really like these rosettes. But if you followed me for a while, you know that I don't love a lot of embellishment or a ton of dimension on my embellishments. And the rosettes are already dimensional, pretty thick. And then they have these really thick adhesive foam circles on the back. So I end up pulling off that foam circle and then adding a cardstock circle to the back of it and then just gluing it down. This is just a random cut apart page that I received in one of my last Echo Park warehouse boxes, and it's like Girl, I think, or Sisters, I think is what it's called. And I just picked a journal card that fit with the colors and kind of the theme for this layout. I didn't need a whole index card. I'm not a huge journaler on these, especially since I'm going back 7 years. I just kind of put the main points down at this point. So I just thought a fun journal card would look better than especially on my white background, than an index card. So and you may see some extra hands in here. That's my daughter Avery. She's like, hey, that's me. So here I'm applying rub-ons to my layout, and in this case I'm using a bone folder. I had asked my daughter Ellie to grab my rub-on tool because she was over there and I didn't feel like getting up from my desk, and she ended up bringing the bone folder, so I figured I'd make it work. But it was not working as well as I would have hoped, so especially on some of the little fonts here. So it does take me an extra minute to get all of this rub-on down. But the rub-on says, eat, sleep, be cute, and repeat, which is what a baby does. So now I'm just trying to create some groupings here, adding some of those enamel stickers. And here I'm adding my own backing to that rosette so that I can go ahead and get it applied down. And then I'm just looking, I find the closest heavy thing I can, and it happens to be a block with the state of Michigan on it, and grabbed it from the counter next to my desk and stacked some stuff on it to help hold that rosette down while it dried. So moving on to the second project, and this is a card. And I'm using some of that mint cardstock as my card base. And I'm erasing the letter that I had put on there for telling me what piece it was according to the cut guidelines. And so now I'm just trying to get everything pulled together for the front of the card. When I chose my patterned paper, I didn't necessarily take into account the cards that I would be making. I was focused more on what would fit with my layouts. So this one was a little bit of a stretch, I think, because it makes those ice cream cones. And I think my ice cream scoops are fine because it looks like it might be melon sherbet or something like that. But when I go to do the cones, I really wanted to use the brown side of the paper, but I already had that brown side with the flowers as my background. So I have to go with the other side that has the letters on them. So coloring, it's fine, but I don't love the letters on there. But it is what it is. So then I decided I wanted to cover that gap with some ribbon just like they had, or the seam there. So I end up pulling out the brown ribbon with the pink polka dots. And just get those two pieces glued together and then wrap my ribbon around. And then adhere it on the back as well. So now I'm placing my ice cream cones, and I didn't do a great job of spacing them because there's two that end up overlapping. But oh well, I spaced them based on the cones, not the scoops. And I think my scoops might have been a little bit bigger than what their scoops were. I was just using, I think I didn't have the size, the circle punch size that they called for, so I went with the next biggest size, so mine were a little bit bigger. So here on the back of this, I want to pop it up a little bit because of that thicker ribbon that's going around the back. So I'm just taking some scraps of my white cardstock to pop up the back of it around the ribbon. So I do the bottom and the top, and then I add some little pieces to the scallops there at the top so that it will all sit level on my card. And again, I didn't want to pull in foam here. I don't necessarily love, especially on cards, I don't necessarily love having that real thick dimension. And plus this uses up some scraps of cardstock that I would probably end up tossing or recycling anyway. So now that is finally down, and I'm going to add the cherries on top. And I will come back later and add sentiments to this. Right now, I'm just building the cards, and I didn't have any sentiment stamps or anything over here on this particular, on my filming desk. So I will come back and add sentiments later on and do some like final embellishing as well. These are like enamel dots or pearls from the Dollar Tree. And even though they were self-stick, I did add a little bit of glue to make sure that they're going to stick good. So moving on to the second scrapbook page, and I do apologize for the mostly naked baby there in that top picture. I didn't think about that when I pulled out pictures to do on this video, and it totally didn't even occur to me until later on that, again, that she really was. I'm just so used to having, pictures of the cute little naked babies that I didn't think about the fact that I was doing this online. So I hope no one's offended by that. I apologize if you are. So once I decided to add a little frame with that peach washi tape around my brown patterned paper just because it was going on brown cardstock and I wanted to have that separation. And then here I also decide I need to mat my photos just to help them stand out as well. So I just used some white cardstock to add a real thin, like 1/8 inch mat around the photo. And I just think that helps them pop. So now I get to go ahead and start building the page. So now I am working on my title, and I pull out the white larger letter stickers, and these are also from Paper Studio. Last fall, I ended up picking up a ton of Paper Studio letter stickers that were on clearance. I don't know if the white ones were, but I needed white, so I may have just picked these up on sale. But I decided to go with Cutie for this title because she is such a cutie. And then I'm trying to figure out what I want to add. I want to add like an embellishment of some sort as part of my title. So I pull out that bunny rub-on, and this time I do have my official rub-on tool. And basically it's just a plastic stick, and it's got a point on one end and then kind of an angle cut on the other. So it works well for like bigger rub-on portions as well as the tiny details. And I want to say it came in a rub-on pack from American Crafts a long time ago, but it is amazing for applying rub-ons. I love it. Much better than the wood craft sticks that come with most of the rub-on packs. So now that I have my title and bunny on, I can apply that piece down and finish off that last picture, and then I can start embellishing. So I decided that I want those two little elephants sitting at the top. It's just perfect spacing for the two little pink elephants to sit on top of the picture at the bottom there. And then I decide to take one of the flower rub-ons, apply it to some white cardstock, and I'm going to use a circle punch to punch it out in the project layout, or the project example that they had. They had something similar, and I liked how it worked out for the top of the page, and so now I am applying the elephants. So now I'm adding that circle piece at the top, and I decided to back it on another cardstock circle since it was a thinner cardstock that I was using. And then I also added a strip of white cardstock underneath my title just to help kind of beef it up and balance it out. And so that's pretty much all I do on that one, for now anyway. So moving on to the last layout, which is our fourth project, I think. Just trying to get the alignment down of all the various pieces here. Because it's nice that they help you utilize your cardstock, so rather than using larger pieces of cardstock and not seeing most of it, that you use smaller pieces and just piece them together. But it's just it's hard to find the correct spacing. And I realized I needed to cut some of these photos down because they weren't gonna lay perfectly. At least I don't have any naked babies on this one, So what I'm using as ribbon this time around, it's from Recollections, and it's like a white foamy rickrack, but it's got glitter. It's like a white glitter foam, and it's self-adhesive. And I think I had pulled it out originally, but just didn't think, I forgot to show it at the beginning when I was showing you the ribbons I had pulled out. But I decided that I liked the kind of whimsicalness of the rickrack on this one. So once I get all my pieces down, I'm going to take that rickrack and apply it across the bottom, like covering the cardstock and the bottom of the pictures. And here again, because my pictures are kind of different size, or I laid them out slightly different, I wanted to fill in that gap there with a peach cardstock strap. And if you're wondering why I turn my pages over when I get all the pictures adhered down, that's so I can like rub it down really well without adding even more fingerprints to my photos. So here I'm applying that rickrack, and it is self-adhesive. There is like a backing that you take off, but I just added a little bit of wet glue just to make sure that it was going to stick really well. And so I decided I wanted to cover up that seam there between the peach and the mint also. And then I wanted to add a third piece up there in the top corner just to kind of balance it out. So I decided I want to use another rosette on this one, and I pulled in the one, it's got some greens and peaches, and I think even a little bit of mint in there. Pulled out my Titletopia again, just to make it quick and easy. So for my title on this one, I decided to go with Baby Mine. And in the layout, for the instructions on this one, they issue a challenge to you to replace or back one of your letters with a circle element, or even replace it altogether with a circle element. So if I would have been using an O, it would have been awesome. I could have just used a circle element of some sort. But with my A, I just decided to go ahead and place it on a circle. So I pulled out a circle punch. It's a small scallop circle punch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, and put my A sticker on there. But then I kind of have to realign my letter stickers to work around that circle. So now I'm going to work on the bottom portion of my title, the word mine. And the biggest struggle is just trying to get them off the sticker sheet, apparently. It's funny because I didn't use a whole lot of creative memory products, but some of the tools that I got from them, I still use. Like my favorite corner rounder is Creative Memories. The Titletopia I still use. And I want to say there's one other thing that I still use occasionally. Oh, it's the wave cutter. It's a paper trimmer, but it cuts in like waves. I do still have that. Use it every once in a while. So here I'm just adding some embellishments. I pulled out the little rub-ons, a couple of flowers to go around my title, the little baby footprints there going up on the left side. And then I end up adding a strip under the baby mine for my journaling strip, just to help fill in that space. Or maybe I think about it and I end up adding it at the bottom. So I decided I want to kind of add more to that top section there, just kind of add a little bitty grouping to go along with that rickrack that's up there. So I add baby girl rub-on, and then there's some teeny tiny hearts that are on that rub-on sheet, so I don't even worry about cutting them out. I just kind of rub them on directly from that paper sheet. And then I remembered that I had also pulled out, but forgot to show, those paperclip ribbons or bows from Echo Park, and from the same collection as the rosettes, the Rockabye Baby, and had wanted to use them. But whenever I use them, I don't use the paperclip. I pull the paperclip off and then kind of re-glue the back of the bow and then just attach them that way. And then I end up saving the paper clips and I reuse those in other ways. And there again, I put my rosette down without the foam backing and use my Michigan block to hold everything down for a minute. So moving on to my final project, it's another card, and this one used the scallop cardstock, and so it's got a little scallop detail at the bottom of the front part of the card base. So I have my pattern paper there and tried to use a flower, thought about using a flower element, and then decided to just go ahead and use the cat that was on those baby rub-ons. This won't be a baby-themed card. I just thought the cat was really cute. So I'm just applying that rub-on to some white cardstock, and we'll punch it out with a circle punch and then back it with a scalloped circle punch using some more of that peach cardstock from my card base. And then I also decide that I want to mat my pattern paper there just to help it stand out a little more. And so again, I will come back and add a sentiment to this later, and you will see that at the end with like all of my final projects. I will be sharing those. So then this card is done for now. Okay, so I will be sharing the finished cards and pages with you. I did add some line detail to the ice cream as well as sentiments to both cards. And then on this page, I did come back, add my journaling and some aqua pearls. And this one, I think I just add journaling to the next two. But I thank you guys so much for your time today. Sorry for the longer video, but I hope you enjoyed the blast from the past. And I hope that you are all having a wonderful crafty day.